This conference will now be recorded.
Fine. Now we will restart. We will start. So, in our last session, we concluded the Tadvan Tatha Shramam Alpebi Cheshtide Swasam Spikstanodara Lambanam. Then comes the next line Asthyadyasthi Adhidandamscha. Asthyadyasthi Adhidandamscha. Asti. Alright. That means Vritha. That is the background. So here also it is the Asti Vriddhi. Vriddha Asti causes Adhyasthi and Adhidandan. Adhyasthi Adhidandan cha. So it can cause conditions like Adhyasthi. Adhyasthi means Adhi Asti, Adhiga Asti. Adhidandam, Adhidandan, Adhiga Dandan. There are conditions like that which may not be very common, but still there are conditions like that, like hyperdontia, or many other conditions can be there where these sort of issues come. But personally, I feel that this description is not sufficient. This description is not sufficient. Asti, adhyasti, adhidandan cha. There can be many other developments related to Asti Vriddhi. Asti is the dhatu which has the function of dharana. Asti is having Prenanam, Jivanam, Leva, Sneho, Dharana Purane. So Dharanam is a function of Asti. That Dharanam generally is explained as Deho Urdhva Dharana. But it is not limited to Deho Urdhva Dharanam alone. Any Dharanam in terms of the proper shape is a function of Asti. As far as the dhadus are concerned, say for example, the shape of the nasika, karnam, then the shape of the netra, budbudam. They are all caused by the dharana karma of Asti. Coming to a different area, see the big srotas like Annavaha srotas or Pranavaha srotas, Sthula srotas. Their shape is also contributed by this Asti to a good extent. Of course, it is not Asti alone. So, the Asti Dharmam is not just about Dehordhva Dharana. There are many other functions. So, it cannot be limited to two avayavas called Asti and Dandam. Of course, the avayavas called Asthi and Dandam both are having predominance of Asthi Dhatu. Same is the case with the Nakham. For Nakham, again, this Asthi Dhatu is contributing significantly. Even in the case of Kesham, there is a significant contribution of Asthi Dhatu. So the Vriddhi of Asthi Dhatu will not be limited to these two avayavas called Asthi and Dandam, but can have its reflection in many other areas like what we have explained. So this explanation is uh, some sort of a udaharana matram, or a sujakam. It is not complete that way. Now coming to the majja, vruddham. Majja netra anga gauravam parvasu sthulamulani kuryad krichrani arumshicha. Majja netra anga gauravam parvasu sthulamulani kuryad krichrani arumshicha. Kuryad वृद्धः मज्जा नेत्रांगगौरवं कुर्यात्. नेत्रांगगौरवं नेत्रगौरवं कुर्यात् अंगगौरवं च कुर्यात्. नेत्रगौरवं नेत्रगौरवं means opposite of netralaghavam. Netra Gauravam shall be better explained as the lack of Netra Laghavam. What is Netra Laghavam? You are not supposed to experience your Netra Avayavam. You are supposed to experience your Netrendriya Pravritti in terms of Rupa Grahanam, Varna Grahanam, etc. But you should not perceive constantly the presence of the netra avayavam, because there is some sort of a laghavam in it. The way in which it is operating, it is having a sort of laghavam that is lost. You always feel the netra avayavam. I have the netra avayavam. I feel my netra avayavam. With effort, I am using it. With effort, I am keeping it open. When that effort is lost, my eyes, my netra is becoming very guru, so that I cannot experience the sort of laghavam which I used to experience earlier. So that is the way in which the netra gauravam is to be understood. Same is the case with the anga gauravam. Anga gauravam, you should not feel your angam means shariram and avayavam. So avayava samudayam is shariram. Both avayavam and shariram is having the same word, vak, to express, that is angam. So here it can be avayava gauravam as well as sharira gauravam. So you feel your body as if it is very guru. In Vyayamad Upajayade, we find Laghavam, Karma Samarthyam. That sort of Laghavam, that means you don't experience the gurutvam of your Shariram. But when there is Majja Vriddhi, you feel your body as heavy. That is very important. This Anga Gauravam is not given as an independent symptom in the case of Medo Vriddhi. In Medo Vriddhi, all these things are Ganda Arbuda Grandhi, Ganda Orudara Vriddhida, Kanda, Adishwadhimamsam, Chatadvan Tadha Shramam, Alpepi Cheshtide. So Alpepi Cheshtide, Shramam Kasam, sorry, Shramam Shwasam Cha is there in Vedas, but that Anga Gauravam as such is not given. But here, that Alpevi Cheshtide Swasam or Shramam is not a feature, but here it is Anga Gauravam. These are very important features. If you ask specific questions, if you look for specific features, the patients will teach you all these things. But all these points should be there in your registry, in your mind. Then only you will be able to ask specific questions, whether it is Anga Gauravam or Alpe Vicheshtide, Swasam, and Shramam. I hope the idea is clear. So Netranga Gauravam. Then Parvasu. Parvam is Sandhi. Parvasu स्थूलमूलानि कृच्छ्राणि अरूंषि च कुर्यात्. पर्वसु स्थूलमूलानि कृच्छ्राणि. स्थूलमूलानि, the moola of which is sthula. Sthula is bulky, moola is the root. So the root of which is very bulky. Bulky in the sense which denies free removal. That is why it is known as sthula. If it was a sukshma, I think its depth and the way in which it is attached will be somewhat light and easy. But here it is sthula moolam. So the moolam here is sthulam. And that sort of arumshi. Arumshi means vrana. So in Parvasu, arumshi kuryad. What sort of arumshi? Sthula moolani arumshi. It is, it may not be a very common presentation, but keep this, noted, because accidentally you may have an encounter with such a case. Then to understand or to make out the entire story behind that presentation, this should be there in our registry. Parvasu arumshi kuryad sthula moolani, and they are krichrani. Krichrani means denies to heal with a conservative line of management. Something which denies to heal with a conservative line of management is known as krichra vyadhi. So krichrani sthula moolani arumshi kuryad, where parvasu sandhishu. So that is also a feature of majja vriddhi. Majja vriddhi. Then next we find shukra vriddhi. Adhistrikamadam vruddham shukram shukrashmarimapi. Adhistrikamadam vruddham shukram shukrashmarimapi kuryad. Vruddham shukram kuryad. Vruddham shukram. Vruddham shukram adhistrikamadam kuryad. Shukrashmarimapi kuryad. It is a very complex explanation because here we were discussing about the dhadu vriddhi, and we all know that both male and female, or Stri and Purusha, are having Shukra Dhatu. Shukra Dhatu. Shukra as a Srava, I think that may be more specific with Purusha, may not be with Stri. Of course, there are some conflicting ideas about it, which we are not going to discuss at this point. So, Adistri Kamata. Adistri Kamata is a sort of a uh, excessive desire. Excessive desire for a generally, I think here it is mentioned as Adistri, but it is more in a more generalized version. It is excessive desire to have a sexual contact with the opposite sex. Actually, that is what in a generalized sense we expect, but here it is very specifically told that adis three kamada, so it is about the Purusha. Adis three kamada, which is about the Purusha. So what about the adi vruddha shukrata in Stri? That is another question. Adi shukra vruddhi avastha or shukra vruddhada in Stri, what will be the features? That is actually not mentioned here. That is not mentioned here. Maybe multiple reasons can be there behind it. It may not be a fashionable thing or a fashionable method to discuss the sort of sexuality of women due to various social compulsions during the time of Vagbhada. That may be one reason. Or as it is happening these days, I think the sexuality may not be a point of discussion in the literature. Even today, I think that sort of inhibitions are there in our uh, classrooms, literature, everywhere. So I think for many reasons other than related with the extreme sense of the Shastra, it is explained like this only. That is what we have to perceive. So here it is limited to the explanation of Adistri Kamada and Shukrashmari. Shukrashmari, of course, again is an issue related to the Purusha, and especially in the context of Shukravega Dharana. So, such things can be read directly on this line, and indirectly, many other things can be read when you see things between the words and lines. So, Adistri Kamadam, Vrittham Shukram, Shukrasmari Mabi. With that, the explanation of the Vriddha Dhadus is over. Now we will find something about the Vriddha Mala Karmas in terms of the Lakshanas. Kukshav Adhanam Adopam Gauravam Vedanam Sakrit. Kukshav Adhanam Adopam Gauravam Vedanam Sakrit. Sakrit. Sakrit is Purisham. Vriddham, obviously it is about Vriddha Purisham. So it is the Sthula Mala of the Ahara. Sthula Mala of the Ahara. And when it is Vriddham, we will find later that what does the Vriddhi of a Mala mean. Vriddhim Malanam Sangad. So when there is a Mala Vriddhi, Kutchau Adhmanam. Adhmanam. Adhmanam is some sort of a bloated feeling or a inflated feeling. That sort of a condition is generally known as adhmanam, kutshavathmanam. Adopam. Adopam is the different types of andhra kujanam. Andhra kujanam is known as adopam. Then gauravam. Gauravam kuryad. Gauravam. Again, the sort of as we explained in the case of Netra Gauravam and Anga Gauravam, you start feeling your tummy, that Lakhavam is lost. That is Anga, that is the Kutshi Gauravam. Vedanam, Vedanam. Of course, it is Pratikula Vedanam and Shula Rupam. So there is Kutshi Vedana cha Vriddham Purisham Kuryad. That is it. Kutshavatmanam adopam gauravam vedanam sakrit. Then mutram tu vasti nistodam kridepi akrita sapnyadam. Mutram tu vasti nistodam kridepi akrita sapnyadam. Vasti nistodam. Nistodam indicates some sort of a pain which continues to exist and severe in intensity. Nistodam. Vasti nistodam. Then the nistodam is in the Vasti Pradesham. Don't take it as the Anga, but take it as the Desha. Vasti nistodam. Vasti Pradesha nistodam. Then krite api akrita sapnyadam kuryad. Krite api, krite pravritte api akrita sapnyadam, apravritta sapnyadam. Even if the urine is voided, still the individual feels that it is not complete. Akritam. Akritam means alpakritam. Alpakritam. So incomplete void. Feeling it is still, it is left behind. The evacuation is not complete. That is krite api akrita sapnyadam kuryad. Mutram tu vasti nistodam kritepi akrita sapnyadam. Then Svedodisveda daurgandhya kandu. Svedaha. Vritthaha svedaha. Svedodisveda adisvedam. Adisvedam daurgandhyam kandu. Daurgandhyam. Durgandhada kandu. Kandu. So these features, adisvedam, daurgandhyam and kandu, indicates Sweda Vriddhi. Then three major malas are explained by name, but there are many minor malas. So now, to accommodate them in the explanation, we find the next lines. Evam cha lakshayed dushigadinapi malan bahulya gurutadibhi. Evam cha lakshayed दूषिगादीनपि malaन bahulya gurudadibhi. Evam, in the same way, lakshayed, by observation you may assume the vriddhi of dushigadin malan abhi. Vridhan. Vridhan dushigadin malan api evam bahulya gurudadibhi cha lakshayed. Evam bahulya gurutadibhihi cha lakshayed. So bahulya guruta adi, adi may be the different feelings related to the corresponding srodo mukha bahirgamana sthana. Like there may be excessive bahulyam. Bahulyam means bahuta, excessive accumulation. Guruta, your feeling, again it is a gauravam, we have explained it. Bahulya guruta adi, there may be sravam, there may be kandu, there may be todam. All these things can be accommodated in that adi shabdam. Adi shabdam. Dushigadin abhi malan lakshayed. Lakshayed means you may infer, anumanam. You may infer. Dushika, dushika is one example of a group. The karnamalam, sorry, netramalam. Then there can be nasamalam, there can be karnamalam. So all these things can be assumed that way. There may be jihva, jihva malam. All these things coming under this dushigadin. Dushigadin abhi malan bahulya gurudadibhihi lakshayed. So I think it is clear. Then now with that we completed the explanation of the vruddha dosha, vruddha dhatu and vruddha mala karmas. The lakshanas of the karmas, or lakshanas are nothing but the karmas which we have explained. Now as we indicated, or as we discussed in the beginning, the kshayam is also a vishamavastha. That is also a vishamavastha. So now we will see what are the lakshanas of kshina doshas. First we will find kshina doshas. How does it go? We will find lingam kshinenile angasya sadolpam bhashidehitam. Lingam kshinenilengasya sadolpam bhashidehitam sapnyamohastadha श्लेष्मवृद्ध्युक्तामय संभवः. सप्न्यामोहस्तथा श्लेष्मवृद्ध्युक्तामय संभवः. What is that? क्षीणे अनिले. क्षीणे अनिले. When anila is kshina, vayu is kshina vayu, then lingam. What are the lingam? Lingam lakshanam. What are the lingam lakshanam? Angasya sadaha lingam. Angasya sadaha. Angam, shariram, avayavam. Here shariram may be a better option because it accommodates all the avayavas. Angasya sadam. Sadaha. Sadaha. Sadaha means the feeling of that tiredness. So that because of that tired feeling, what happens? The karma kushalata is lost of the sharira. The karma kushalata is lost. That shows in every action. That shows angasya sadaha. Certain examples: alpam bhashite hitam. Bhashite hitam, bhashitam, ihitam cha bhashite hitam. Bhashitam, the spoken karma. Ihitam, ihitam means the karma by with the sharira. Iha, cheshta. So the cheshta and vak, cheshta and vak, alpam, that becomes alpam. Both the functions of cheshta and vak, they become alpam. Then sapnyamoha, sapnyamoha. So that can be understood as sapnya is the capacity to comprehend. Actually, it is a uh, sign of alertness, the capacity to even maybe perceive the stimulus from outside, then the capacity to respond to the stimulus from outside. All these can be one way or the other accommodated in the word sapnya. And to that sapnya, moha happens. To that sapnya, moha. Moha means some sort of a stage in which the capacity to discriminate is lost. Moha. So the level of sapnya goes through a stage of moha. That is known as sapnya moha. Sapnya moha. Tadha, likewise, shleshma vruddhyukta amaya sambhavaha. Shleshma vruddhyukta amayam. Amayam, which amayam? Ukta amayam, where shleshma vruddhi. The amaya, the lakshanas, it is actually not vyadhi, it is lakshana. The lakshanas which are explained under the heading of shleshma vruddhyuktam, they also manifest here in the case of vada kshayam. We have seen that shleshma agni sadana prasega alasya gauravam shvaitya shaitya shladhangatvam swasakasa adi nidrata. These were the shleshma vruddhyuktamaya sambhavaha. But you need not expect or look for all those features, but it is more like some sort of a representative narrative. It's more like a representative type of explanation wherein the author tries to uh, communicate the guna viparitata between Vayu and Shleshma in this special context. Shleshma is Sita, Vayu is Sita. But beyond that, Shleshma is Guru, Vayu is Lekhu. Shleshma is Snigdha, Vayu is Ruksha. Shleshma is Sthira, Vayu is Chala. Like that, there are many factors which runs in opposite directions between Vayu and Shleshma. So whenever there is a sufficient presence of nidanas to bring vadakshaya, those nidanas will be indirectly promoting Shleshma. That should be kept in our minds. So that gives, you can think many things around this statement. Okay, then what is happening in a vada shleshma vruddhi? All these things are clinical situations which are not very uncommon. So you have plenty of space to think about all these things, which I am not or which I am leaving for a later occasion. Fine. So sapnyamoha tadha shleshma vruddhyuktamaya sambhavaha. Then coming to the pitta kshaya, pitte mandonala sheetam prabhahani. Pitte mandonala sheetam prabhahani. Analaha mandaha kshine pitte Analaha mandaha. Analaha agnihi. Mandaha mandaha. Agnimandyam. So when there is pitta kshayam, agnimandyam manifests. It's a complex statement again, because ideally there is no different entities like Pittam and Agni. They are one and same, ideally. But because of the Sthana Vishesha, Karma Vishesha, Guna Vishesha is also there between different Pittas, and in a particular stage, which we are going to see later in the chapter called Dosha Bhediyam. I do not know whether we have already completed it. The special uh, uh, component of pitta called pajaka pitta is the one which is designated as agni. So when there is pitta kshaya, all principles of pitta is to be understood as kshina, of which the agni also gets its share of kshina. So kshaya, so it is becoming agni manda, mando analaha. Shidam, when agni is manda, there is a presence of the opposite, that is shidam. Prabhahani. Prabha is an attribute of pitta. So when there is pitta kshaya, it manifests as Prabhahani as well. Prabhahani. Then coming to Kabhakshaya, Kabhe Brahmaha. Shleshmashayanam Shunyatvam. Hridrava. Shladha Sandhita. Shladha Sandhita. Hridrava. Shladha Sandhita. So in Shleshma Kshaya, we find Shleshmashayanam Shunyatvam. Shleshma Sthiratva Snigdhatva Sandhibandha Kshamadibhihi. That is a Pragrita karma of Shleshma. Then Urakandha Shirakloma Parvanyamashyo Rasa Medo Grananja Jihvaja Kabhasya Sutaram Uraha. These are the Shleshma sthanas, and there are specific Shleshma ashaya, especially the Sandhi, then Uras, Hridayam, all these things, or Shiras, all these things are specifically the Shleshma sthanas, Shleshma ashaya. So in all these Shleshma ashaya, like the Kshaya of any component kept in a vessel creates a sort of a emptiness in that vessel. Here also Shleshma Kshaya manifests as emptiness, shunyata of that Shleshma Sthana. This is a very subjective feeling many a times, with the obvious objective manifestations as well. For example, the feeling of emptiness in the uras is very subjective. Feeling of emptiness of uras is a very subjective feature, but at the same time the emptiness of asti sandhi may have objective findings as well. When that sandhi is moving, there can be a stage of sashabdada, which shows the shleshmashayanam shunyatvam. Hridravaha. Hridravaha. Hridravam. It is a very difficult word to explain. I have seen it explained in many ways. and I had a very deep inquiry into the possibilities of the word hridrava, and I searched where you find this very in a very common way in our clinical conditions as well. When you browse through the Nidana Sthana, we will find the word called Dravada Hridayena cha. Dravada Hridayena. You may be knowing where it is. Dravada Hridayena cha. It is in Samanya Lakshana of Panduroga. Dravada Hridayena cha. You will find it. That Mridhyamaneirivangairna Dravada Hridayena cha. Shunakshikuda Sadana Kopana Sthivana Alpavak. So that is one important situation, clinical situation. Here we find Hridravaha, I don't know, the Hridi Kamba ityartha. Hridi Kambaha. Kambaha. That tremor. Hridi. In the Hridaya Desha, there is a tremor. If you look at the explanation by our Hemadri, we find Anukambaya iva pida hridayasya. Anukambaya, as if you when the feeling in your hridesha, when as if you are experiencing anukamba. So quite mysterious explanations. In my opinion, hridrava is nothing but confusion, a state of confusion. So I'm not going to explain the logic behind how I come to that conclusion or so. Clinically, this state of Shleshma Kshaya, especially in the clinical situations which we otherwise go through in our day-to-day practice, this Hridrava is a state of confusion. And I would like to propose it as that only. Then Shladha Sandhita. It is a Sandhi is a Shleshma Ashaya. So interestingly, when Shleshma Kshaya happens, this Sandhi is becoming Shidhilam Shladham. There is Shaidhilyam of the Sandhita, and obviously Vayu takes an upper role there. Okay. Then Shleshmashayanam Sunyatvam Hridrava Slatha Sandhita. Now coming, so with that we conclude the Dosha Kshaya Lakshanas. Then coming to the Dhadu Kshaya Lakshanas. Rase Raukshyam Shrama Shosho. I think did I miss something in the Kabhe Brahmaha, that I missed. Kabhe Brahmaha. Brahmaha is also a feature of Kabhakshaya. That is very important. This Kabhakshaya can cause many other diseases actually. It is not because of the Kshaya of Kabha, but the predominance of Agneya Dhadus, especially Pitta supported by Vayu. Pitta supported by Vayu obviously causes or secondarily brings about Kabhakshaya, and it can cause symptoms like Brahma, Trishna, etc. So that is also a relevant clinical point. Then Rase Raukshyam Shrama Shosho Glani Shabda Sahishnuta. Rase Raukshyam Shrama Shosho Glani Shabda Sahishnuda. In an older version of the text, the Shrama, it was in a different way. It was explained as Brahma. Rase Raukshyam Brahma Shosho Glani Shabda Sahishnuda. So there is Raukshyam. When there is Rasakshaya, Rasa is the form of Sneha, which is the easiest available one, easiest available form of sneha. So when there is rasakshaya, there is immediate presence of raukshya. Shramaha, prenanam, when that prenanam is lost due to rasakshaya, you present with severe shrama. You can't exert, you can't exert, you get tired immediately. Shoshaha, maybe mukha shosham, and it need not be an immediate loss of weight, karsyam, but a shosham of the mukha shosham, netra shosham, or all srodha shosham can happen immediately. Glani, glani is again a form of tiredness, but shramam is something which starts immediately after exertion. Glani may be even before that there is exertion, and it is more like shramam is more like a subjective feeling, whereas glani is more like a objective appearance. The other person immediately identifies that glani. Why do you look so tired? That will be the question to a person having glani. Whereas the shramam is person, I am tired, I cannot work anymore. So that sort of a difference you have to understand. Then shabda sahishnuda. Shabda asahishnuda is generally a rasakshaya lakshana that happens with many other conditions where rasakshaya happens, and indirectly vada vriddhi. This rasakshaya causing raukshim brings or invites vada vriddhi, and then also you can find this shabda asahishnuda. Then coming to the Rekta, Rektemla Shishira Preeti, Sira Shaidhilya Rukshata. I think that we will read in our next session. There are a couple of points which are given in the chat. One is Vadakshina Kabha Vruddha Avastha, we to consider Avarana Samprapti. Vadakshina Kabha Vruddha Avastha. Like myasthenia gravis, Unmesha Nimesha Kriya of eyelid, lost control. Is this, can we consider Vadakshina and Kabha Avarana? I think just by this statement, we may not be able to come to the full details of the clinical condition. Vadakshina Kabha Vruddha Avastha need not be an Avarana Samprapti always. When there is Kabha Vruddhi, and that Kabha Vruddhi is causing Avarana of Vayu, there are multiple possibilities. Sometimes, because of the Marga Avarodha, the Vayu may go to a stage of extreme Kopa. Need not be Vadakshina. Extreme Vada Kopa can happen. That is one way of a Marga Avarodha Janya Vada Kopam. Especially if there is a slight push with a proper Nidana to increase the vada, definitely that will end up in a very profuse vada kopa with the marga avarodha. So that need not always be vadakshina. Then vadakshina is also a possibility. When is it happening? When there is kabha vriddhi and there is no nidana for vada kopa, and this vada is getting trapped in the clutches of kabha. Then there is a stage of mudhavastha, maudhyam, mudhavastha of the vayu. Then practically vayu behaves as in a kshina form, and all of its karmas uh, will show a downfall. Then that is another possibility of this condition which Dr. Ujjwala has specified here. Now, in myasthenia gravis of this ocular type, where this ptosis is happening, Unmesha Nimesha Kriya of eyelid is losing control. It is not losing control, it is impossible. There is a ptosis, actually, there is uh, uh, difficulty to open, but there is no difficulty to close. Involuntarily, even it is going, it is kept closed. So in that condition, can we consider it as a vadakshina kabhavarana? We can consider it as, but if a proper intervention in this line is not giving any upashaya at all, then in that case we will have to think about other possibilities. This krichra avarana or sukshma avarana avasthas, in such cases the upashaya anupashaya pariksha is one crucial diagnostic criteria. Shanai shanai च उपशयाद यथास्वं लक्षणोदयाद शनैः शनैश्च उपशयाद. So when there is upashaya in this line of treatment, then you can conclude it as okay, it was a kabha vruddha vadakshina avarana avastha. Otherwise the other possibilities are also to be considered. I do not know whether I explained the point properly. If not, Dr. Ujjwala can specify. Now there is one another point. Please elaborate little more about Hridrava as state of confusion. Nothing to add to it. When you go through the real conditions where this Hridrava is explained, and when you look at the patient in such a condition, you can understand that the patient presents with a state of confusion in terms of many aspects like decision making or communicating his or her complaints properly, or losing the sort of connectivity of events, that sort of things you can find. And hridayam chedanasthanam, hridayam chedanasthanam, and asthirata, dravata indicates an asthirata, and asthirata of chedanasthanam causes this sort of a confused state of mind. So that is why with a clinical perspective, I prefer to explain hridrava as a state of confusion. I hope it is clear. So with that, we will conclude today's session. We will continue with the Rakta Kshaya Lakshanas and Karmas in our next session. Thank you very much. Shubharatri.
Yes, thank you, Prasad sir, for such a wonderful explanation.